I have the privilege and the pleasure and the opportunity to introduce to some, reintroduce to others, and introduce to everybody a good friend of mine who not only serves as my big sister, my brand confidant, my business colleague, but this lady right here, when I tell you she is near and dear in my inner circles of inner circles, Toi Sweeney, we graciously thank you for gracing with us with your presence on the podcast. And if y'all don't know about Toi, let me come correct. I do want to make y'all to understand I don't bring no scrubs on here. We got established, qualified Black excellence on here.
Okay.
Y'all, she is a proven in media personality and a recognition from impeccable taste and style expertise. She's written books. She knows how to move in rooms. She is a keynote speaker. She knows how to create change through everything that she does. Everything she touches turns into things. And y'all, she is one of the best stylists and one of the most creative swagger people that I know on this planet. In part, some of my swagger is because of her and learning from her presence and elegance and how she shows up in rooms and all of these things. But I'm going to let her come in her own way to let y'all know what she's about, who she is, what she does, and all things. Toi Sweeney, my big sister, thank you for being on the pod.
Yay! Thank you for having me. You know, there are no words to describe how much I love you. You are just, my favorite little brother. There's not much that I would not do for you. That being said, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited about our conversations. They're always so exceptional. I get the privilege of learning so much from you and just you always being there when I need you. And I call you crying, going like, I have a scaling problem. I can't figure this one out. Help me.
It is rare in these days to have people who can just understand all the sides of you. I think sometimes we lean on certain, and you've helped me guide myself through this in many cases when I want to explore different business avenues, is that unfortunately not everyone is equipped to sit in certain seats to help you. And I'm not even talking helping you from like financially or business planning, but just sit and listen, be there to support, because they don't have the acumen, they don't have the understanding, they don't know the experiences that you're facing. There's only so much that respectfully family can give you. Yeah. If they haven't been an entrepreneur, an author, a creator, a speaker, if they haven't navigated, I have something in my head that is bigger than myself that's calling me to do something and it's hard. And if people don't know how that is, it is hard to navigate. And I take this moment to, as we are testaments to this, as our friendship has been so strong through the pandemic. I might have that's a whole nother thing for another day.
Oh my God.
You need to find people who and they understood what you meant.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go to prayer for you. I'm gonna sit with you. Oh, I haven't talked to this person in a minute. We need to get on a phone call. How are you doing? No, how are you really doing? Could you talk about that and your support and how you navigate that with your tribe? Remember when marketing was fun? When you had the time to be creative and connect with your customers? Well, with HubSpot, marketing can be fun again. Turn one piece of content into everything you need. Know which prospects are ready to buy right now. And see all your campaign results in one place. Plus, it's easy to use, helping HubSpot customers double their leads in just 12 months. More time to, enjoy marketing again. Visit HubSpot.com to get started for free.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. No one has ever asked me that before. Oh gosh, I have so much to say about that. Okay, focus, ADHD.
We're neurospicy and we're proud of it, okay? We can do all good things too. Just takes us a little more time, but we got this.
Right? So, gosh, that is so good. Okay, I think that it is knowing who you want to be and being willing and courageous enough to do what it is to be the person that you need to become. That kind of journey of like really truly deciding to kind of friend I want to be, the kind of cousin, the kind of sister, the kind of wife, the kind of mother, the kind of child of God, like all of that. Like, what is that like for me? It was like, what does that look like? And when my mom died, I was really emotionally at ground zero. And something just was whispering to me, like, this is an opportunity kind of like now in the world, right, of what's going on in this current administration. It's like, this is an opportunity for you to rebuild in a much better way. Because when I tell you that I had nothing left, I had nothing. And so it was only up from there emotionally. And so I started to lay the groundwork that the kind of person that I wanted to be was I wanted to take all of the things that my mom gave me as far as the resilience and the resourcefulness. And like, I didn't want to talk about showing up for people. I wanted to really show up for them. I didn't want to, and I wanted to do it without judgment. And so what has happened specifically, I would say the last 12 to 24 months, I have had so many friends and family members just kind of, pull me aside and say, listen, exactly honestly what you've said. And it was an answer to prayer. Like the way that you have stood in the gap for me, the way that you call me and you're praying for me and you are, just being there to listen. And I feel like you're a safe space that I can come to and talk to. And the biggest thing was without judgment. And that was the part of it that was such a gift. And I didn't know that it was something that I needed as well. And I think that as we all continue to get more comfortable in our humanness, that it's okay for you to make mistakes. It's okay for you to not be okay. It's okay for you to stand in the shower and cry. It's okay for you to be like, listen. But to your point, you can't do that with everybody. And so I just want to be a safe space. And I seek that. And what started to happen is that I started to attract people, or different family members and friends did start to reposition themselves so that then they can then step into my humanness and be like, Toi, it's okay. It's okay that you don't have it all figured out, because I don't. It's okay that the people closest to you are the ones that get on your last reserve nerve and you're just like, I don't know what to do. And also being an entrepreneur is hard. It is the hardest thing, one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I thought that I had a whole list of things in my head that I thought were hard until I did this. And then I was like, oh, that is both things can be true, and they are, but this is just a season of difficulty. Absolutely. I think that was me laying the foundation for that. Is just that's the kind of person that I want to be, so that on that day that my friends and my family are standing, at my funeral, they say that this is the kind of person that she was. And I was proud to live up to that, because that's what it was with my mom. Person after person. My mom had over 600 people at her funeral that was speaking to the kind of woman that she was. And I and my brother and I are her legacy, so I'm carrying her name. I am Joyce's daughter. So I have got to live up to that, in addition to being all that God has called me to be and do as well. So I don't have a choice. That's the way I choose to move through this world. And it's not about it being reciprocated. It's not about any of those things. It's just about me and how I want to move through and what I want to say and the things that I want to do and the person that I want to be for you, regardless. Not looking for anything in return. Who do I need to be for you right now? And say, what do you need? How can I support you? Like, whatever. Long answer. But that's my answer.
That was the right answer. And I'm going to let everybody know right now, you have entered into Toi and Troy time. Okay. Y'all about to have get some tissues, get your drink, get some sweets. It's going to be a wide ride of emotions, and it's going to be a great thing. I think George will be proud. I would say Beverly would be proud.
What's up, digital world? You're listening to the I Digress audio experience with Toi Sandidge. Social media, marketing, storytelling, business, culture, and more. Coming to you in 3, 2, 1.
I think what you said about legacy says so much, and it was amazing. I've been trying to do these episodes, and I had Ivante on, Dr. V on, now you're on, and there seems to be this correlational theme of comfort. How do we get comfortable in our own skin, literally and metaphorically speaking? How do we get more comfortable in how we show up in rooms, how we navigate? And as someone who is an award-winning author, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. As someone who is a TEDx speaker, as someone who has done so many things, and I've had the privilege to kind of be a fly on the wall and see behind the scenes, we get these micro calls of, I'm going to try to do this thing. And then we see it happening. I remember when you were prepping for the TEDx talk, and you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then, y'all, I was proud family when I'm watching on screen. I'm like, there she is. Because who do you know? Who do you know do TED Talks? Who do you know? She helped me figure out, okay, I got this idea. I'm doing this book. I couldn't see it to manifestation. I was like, I don't know, should I do it? Like, yeah, you should do it. I'm going to do it. You're going to do it? I'm going to do it. You need people who not only can give you advice and encourage you, but can do the thing. That legacy, part of that legacy is enduring the hardship to show I can reach the promised land. And it's not a one-time thing. It's a continuous thing. And you're doing that. And we've also had moments where I was like, Toi, I've done this. My rap sheet is long. And yet.
Talk about it.
And yet, I haven't materialized the thing in my mind that I know that I deserve. I'm tired of saying, don't take it. No, that is mine to have.
Yes.
I want it. I need it. I'm worthy of it. I've done my part, but I can't open the door. And you once told me, well, maybe it's not meant to be opened yet. And I had to sit with it.
Oof.
And I think many entrepreneurs, especially those who are neurospicy, because we have a lot of visions and creativity. And if you're not neurospicy, you do not comprehend how much literal pain it may feel to not be able to do certain things that's in your mind creatively to do. Like it hurts us not to be in our best self in our calling.
It's like a slow death. Like you're just watching it burn, and you want to do something, and it's like that invisible wall that every time you run towards it, something hits you and you're falling back and you're just like, no. Like that. I see like the montage in my head, like I'm climbing up the mountain and I just keep sliding back down. Yes. And I'm like, no. And I'm climbing back up. And it's so frustrating. Yes. It's just like, I know that for sure. And I had to talk about this with my therapist. And I was just like, I deeply struggle with, I should be further along. I should be further along. I should be interested. Right. You are so hard on yourself. You have got to learn to show yourself some grace. And so I try to take a deep breath, especially during a lot of our conversations when I've been saying the same thing to you, like I should be further along. And I had to learn to take the day that I had texted and posted on your Instagram, like, I was talking to our friend Natalie, shout out to Natalie Gregg. Natalie. Right. And we were having that same conversation that morning of like, oh my gosh, like I have got to learn to take my own medicine. And she thought that was so funny because I was like, she's like, what are you up to? I'm like, just sitting here taking my own medicine. And she's like, well, why? And I was like, because I did a thing and I posted something on LinkedIn that I've since removed. I was like, because it was like weird. I just had my first viral post on LinkedIn a couple months ago where it reached nearly 700,000 impressions, right? Ooh. And so I was just like, well, whoa, so I like posted something and it just was like, it felt like so super flat, right? After coming off of that. And so I was just like, what? And then I looked and I'm like, wait, first of all, what are you doing? And she said, what do you think happened? I said, I didn't take my own medicine. I know what to do. I'm not taking my own medicine. So I'm taking it down and we're going to do it again. And so I think that that's what it is. But yeah, you're so right about that. It's like, just hit that wall and you're just like, somebody help me, please.
I just posted on LinkedIn recently about that, of just literally, I was marveled. I put it in the Google search. The question was, should I work with Toi Sweeney? And what came up was recommendations from other people that I had from LinkedIn and other areas. Nice. And I said, wow, people need to make that ask when you do good work. When you know you did good for somebody else, when they experience you as a speaker, they read your book, ask them to leave a review. Ask them to make a recommendation for you, to have a written copy or video statement of what you said. 100%. But I'd also said, hey, use that when you hit those low moments to remind yourself of who you are. you did some impossible things. I always think every single time I thought, this is the end of the world. This is the end of my story. This is it. It's over. And then you blink. Oh, I survived. Oh, it wasn't that bad. It might have been horrible, but you get on the other side of it and they see cycles. And you've helped me through so many cycles, girl. I got to give you your flowers. You have helped me through so many cycles. I'm breaking character because I need to. I love you dearly. You are a phenomenal human, a phenomenal soul. Putting businesses aside for a moment. And I think, and I'm being real, because I've been trying to cultivate a lot of people in my life who I respect, who are doing great things, especially during Black History Month. But beyond that, I want people to hear their voices and see them for who they are in all their layers, not just one or another. And we need to do a better job of collaborating with each other.
Yes.
I know we're very tempted to go where the money is.
Yeah.
But I've said this in 3 episodes now. Black businesses have over $3.86 trillion in generational buying power.
Right.
We can tap into that if we learn how to join forces together. So, Toi, one thing I know about you that the audience will now know about you. If they don't know, if you're listening, you got to watch the video. If you're watching the video, well, y'all already can see the presentation is there. Now, we've had moments together where we shared in different experiences on color theory and branding and positioning, and how you're the one of the people who gave me the hack of, the clothing material you wear, if it distracts you, have ADHD, that's probably why you can't show up as your best self. So once I found the combination of materials that work for me, that I'm not getting so hot and sweaty, and I feel breathable material, and I'm not trapped or distracted by those things. But the funny thing is, a lot of people, especially people of color, don't know that yet. They don't know the ins and outs of how all those things come together to help you be your best self. So however you want to go with this, is there a process or a starting point people can learn more about how they dress, how they wear, how they show up, the tonality of the voice, however you want to take with it? Because I know you're an expert. Where can they start?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that to answer the question simply, and then I'm going to go back to something else you said, and hopefully my brain will let me come back to this. I think that you just have to have some things in your arsenal that are going to set you up to win. And it's like, first, of course, right, you got to decide that you want to win. And then every decision that you're making in every aspect of your life needs to dump into that I want to win bucket. And you think that they're small things, but they're not, right? I want to rewind on something that you were saying in the beginning before you asked the question. And I think that we severely underestimate faith. And I'm not saying that you need to believe what I believe. I'm just saying that you need to believe in something that's bigger than yourself. So because I am a believer, I'm going to go the route through words that I understand and say that. But you, if you're watching, you just, whatever this means for you. I went through a season of a year, and we've shared this like offline, right? Where I had a year and a half of nothing. And so during that time, what I learned was about suffering and how suffering produces hope. And the hope gets you in that process of the journey, right? And Gary Vee always talks about you have to fall in love with the journey. And real talk, the journey sucks. Like, I hate it there. It is so ghetto. I don't love anything about it. It is the worst thing ever. I'm like, I don't want to do this, right? But what I learned in that season is that God cared more about who I was becoming than he cared about anything else. And in order for you to get to those dreams and those hopes and that thing and that dream business, that $1 million contract, and to all of those things, that depending on what you have going on, if I meant for you to have it, you'd have it. Ouch. I need you to become this kind of person so that when I bring you that $1 million contract, you are able to receive it in such a way that you are building a longer table and not a higher fence. And so I think that when we're in it, it's hard to see it because, to your point, like, I've accomplished all these things. Like, like I said, I'm the queen of that. I'm like, I got a TEDx, I got a whole best-selling book. I have a workshop that's doing great. I've worked for the large world's largest home shopping network in the world and spent 16 years for that, right? And I took that experience and then that's when I dumped it all in here. So yeah, it makes sense that it's the best-selling books. I left no stone unturned, right? And so I've had opportunities to be on exceptional podcasts like this. You know, I've been featured on over 30 podcasts, Where Women Works magazines. You know, I've been featured in so many magazines, Forbes.com, BBCnews.com, like all the things, real talk. And so then when you look and you've got $14 in your business account, you know, you're just like, huh?
Right.
Like, make it make sense, Jesus.
That's for real.
And that's just real talk. That was what I had to learn through that. And I just wanted to touch on that before I answer your question. As you're moving into these rooms and you're preparing, you know, even what led me to write The Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand was that, you know, I was at a point in my career where I felt really stuck. You know, there was no upward mobility for where I was working. I had just, you know, we had just lost our son. I had a uterine eruption, which I talk about in my TEDx. And after that, I couldn't move forward and have children. Like sometimes, especially if you're a woman watching this, you may have unfortunately suffered a miscarriage and you get to try again. So imagine that this happens because it was so much more for me than a miscarriage. We're talking about a whole uterine eruption. I'm in the hospital for 8 days, 2 blood transfusion, an infection in my uterus. My husband almost lost me and we had just lost our first child. And then, you know, thank God I get to be alive and I get to heal through that. But I now can't have children. Like there is no more, let me try to heal through this journey and then maybe we'll try again. None of that was like, it was like you run your race and then all of a sudden you're done. And then at work, there was nowhere for me to go. I was done. And then I get back to work and the girl that was covering for me decided that she wanted my job. And so it just started this journey of toxicity and having to climb and work through that because, you know, I wasn't in a position where I could leave or wanted to leave. And so I had to learn to work through that. And so I did. And that was when I kind of started putting these things together for branding. So I had an opportunity to work on all of these different things. But my point is that through that grief process, I wanted to change the narrative. And that is really the crux of The Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. That's how my company was launched. That's how the book was born. My company is called The Well-Dressed Brand. And so what I learned was that, man, we get to control our narrative. We get to stand in our power every single day. And it's not up to your boss. It's not up to anybody. It is up to you to create that narrative. You tell them how you want to be treated. You get to tell them that. And so the moment I started to wrap my head around it, everything else that I've listed off that I've done, all of those things started to rush in, you know? And so one of the first things that I did when I wanted to change the narrative is that I started to study and really research the psychology of color. And I learned that it is one of the only things that will help you to control what other people think about you. And I think that so when you meet an image consultant and sometimes mostly an image consultant and a stylist are different. An image consultant is really more about the rules, where a stylist is more about the trends. A stylist may know like this looks good, but they may not always, some of them, not everybody, may know why. Whereas image consultant, again, some of them may know like you put this, you put this and this. It's formulaic. And I merge those two things together and I just have a different perspective. So it's not about the outfit. We don't wear outfits. We wear looks. You know, you got to put your look together and that look is going to be based on what you want to say because you get to control the narrative. So what I did was when I would go to work, Troy, people would see me because it is still very sad that happened to us. But we've been, thank you, Lord, able to help others through our story and our testimony. But I would go into work and people would see me and burst into tears. And I'm like, how am I supposed to work like this? You know, like I'm consoling other people. I'm trying to, you know, like get through and heal on my own. And so I had to start changing narratives. So what I did for probably about a year or so, I didn't wear black at all to work. I would only wear really bold, bright colors. I wear like turquoise and red mixed with yellows and magenta and all of these things. And so over time, people would start to say to me, you always look so happy. I had changed the narrative of this sad Black girl, that they needed to feel sorry for, because I didn't feel like a victim, like something horrible happened. But I know that I'm not alone. I'm not the only person that this ever happened to. I knew I wasn't the first, and I knew I wasn't going to be the last. And that made me sad. So I just started using color in that way. I was okay. So once I started doing that, I was positioned for this promotion. I didn't get the promotion. So then I was like, well, wait a minute. This stylist is not a better stylist than I am. Like, why did this person not give me the promotion? So I realized that it was because I didn't look the part. Coincidentally, the post that's clipped to my LinkedIn page is about Zendaya and how she used her style and her fashion to navigate from Disney to being this style icon. And she's giving you the keys to that. And I took that and broke it down into a strategy. But that's what it was, is that she did the same thing. She just wanted to control that narrative, right? And so I said, okay, so then we're just going to start looking the part. The same thing she did. She's like, I went to every party. People were calling me a seat filler. I was like, they're like, why is she here? I started showing up to work a little bit different. And the same person who had denied me this opportunity, I noticed the day, Troy, I still remember the day that it changed in her mind. I remember I walked by her and she took a double take and she looked me up and down and I said, got her. Next thing you know, I was taking his job. That promotion was now mine. Now, I will say that sounds crass, but this person was not living up to what it could be. And so one of the examples I'll give is, like, I remember we were in this backstage area and, he's working on this show or whatever. And this person came back and was looking for something very particular, another stylist, and everything that he would pull out, she didn't like. And I moved in silence. I did not say a word. I would just pull out what I knew she wanted. And I would sit it on the table and I would walk away. And he's like, and I was helping him, but she noticed. I think that using the color of psychology to say what you want to say and to control the narrative is one thing. The other thing too is like solidifying your brand and just really understanding what that is. And then everything gets filtered through your brand voice. For me, that means that I primarily am always in my brand colors. I'm always in red, black, and white. When I'm taking a meeting and I'm in my office, the amount of people that talk about my background and how much they love that. Like, I'm constantly pushing that brand narrative of excellence, of what it means to be well dressed, what it does. And I talk more about, again, what's happening in your brain and in your heart and in your power, as opposed to here's my look of the day. I'm just starting to do a little bit more of those things. But for the last 7-8 years that I've been running my business, I wasn't doing much of that, because that's not what I wanted to bring to you. I wanted you to understand that when we get dressed, it happens with our minds. There's a study that I talk about in the book where they do this. They take a group of people with a doctor's coat. They tell one group it's a smock, one group it's a doctor's coat, one group, they're just like, just look at it. We decide what we think that is in our mind. So the people that was like, oh, it's a doctor's coat, guess what? They were more productive. They were more creative. They were more everything, because they were attached in their minds, when you think about doctor, right, to something that was much bigger than themselves. And so when someone walks into a room and they see you in your Crocs and your, and your whatever, and you still have on like your rolling flannel pajamas from the night before, that doesn't necessarily, it might, bring people into you. It doesn't necessarily like bring them into you. I had 2 events the last couple of weeks, and the last one that I was at, the amount of people that were just kept walking over to me and was like, oh, I just need to tell you that this whole situation is, who are you? And I did a networking event for a school that I get the privilege of guest lecturing about branding here in upstate New York, the Golisano Institute of Business for Entrepreneurs. And, the students were walking over to me, hey, we're reading your book in class, which I can barely say without crying, like, oh, so grateful, right? Like, I'm sorry, what? But I have an opportunity. I'm going to be guest lecturing there again soon in the spring. And so they're coming up to me and like, we're reading your book, but then, and inside they're like, and can we talk about this look? Like, absolutely. But my point is that it brings people into you. And especially if you are an introvert, your style needs to be iconic. because you know that you're not going to walk over to somebody and say, hi, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. You know, you're not going to do the small. You're not.
Nope.
And so you want them to come over to you and talk about, why does your shirt have avocados all over? I'm not saying you got to be fancy. I'm not saying you have to wear a suit. I'm not saying you can't even wear your Crocs. I'm saying be intentional. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. It's about strategy and using your wardrobe as a career strategy, a business strategy, as a personal growth strategy. Because once you get in that room, you want to have all the attention and eyes be on you so that then you can show them how exceptional you are. But first, they're gonna see you more often than not, that before you even get a chance to open your mouth. So you need to make it make sense and really live out that brand wholly, so that you look like what it is. You look like excellence because you are excellence. You look like that guy because you are that guy. Like, that's just what it is. There's my TEDx. I'm sorry, I went on.
Oh no, we're gonna make space. Perception, persuasion, and power. Those 3 P's, I like to say it. And it's true. It's the same thing. You know, if you want to come, you go to you want a 5-star restaurant, the moment you walk in that door, that better be the atmosphere, the aroma better match what you think it needs to be. It's not. And I'll say this too. You taught me this too. And many people of color, many businesses, many startups, many creatives, sometimes we know where we're at, but we need to position ourselves for who we want to become. That doesn't mean you're not lying. Well, we got to prepare ourselves, position ourselves for what we want to be seen as, how we want to be experienced. And once I wrapped my head around that and also understood that there are many people who have the 3 P's down, who look the part, who examine the power, who have the persuasion that they are that person. Like you said, behind the scenes, though, it was just a cardboard. You would have walked through. It's kind of like you go Times Square and make that corner on 3rd Street. Like, wait a minute. And if you ain't never been there yet, you ain't gonna know what I'm talking about. If you've been there, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, what is all this? What is all this? Sometimes you have to position yourself for what you really want.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, if I could be frank, for us. It's a hard thing for me at times when you get so tired of feeling like the only in the room or invisible in the room. And why is it? And you just gave us a hack. You know, if I want to attract more attention, let me start with my mind and start with my look, respect on that notice look of how I want to show up. And I tell this all the time with people. Sometimes, you know, there's a reason why superheroes got a certain uniform. But then when they put that on, they that person.
Yeah.
I'm going to handle business. And then when I'm done, I'm going to take it off. There's a separation there. Sometimes you need to have that switch.
Yeah.
Eventually you get to the place where they're interconnected. But sometimes, like me, I'm on stage, put the hoodie on, put the jacket on, put the right kicks on, good looking, whatever. I know the moment, even though I might lose my breath, I might forget everything I done studied the last 2 weeks when I walk on that stage. But I know it doesn't matter. I know in this moment, when I put this outfit on, I am that person. Breathe, wait 10 seconds. It's all going to come back to your mind and it's muscle memory, and you're going to make this work. And there's a power in color. There's a power in what you wear. There's a power in the consistency of knowing what look. I do this too, and I'll be done. You taught me this. You taught me that. I'm telling y'all things that actually work from Toi. So y'all don't believe me. This person's a miracle worker, literally. There was times I learned certain looks when it did really well. I just put that look back on because I knew that look meant, okay, I got success literally in that look. That's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to show up. And, you know, we laugh and, you know, at these things, and you see athletes who maybe wear certain socks or certain things, certain arm sleeves or whatever for their thing. But when they get to know a certain look to be a certain way, psychologically, that's powerful.
Oh my gosh, it is. And I think that, you know, we are a society of consumption, right? Like most influencers are showing you their looks in this closet that's massive with 1,000 pairs of shoes and, you know, this, that, and the third. And there's not anything wrong with that. That makes sense for what they're doing and for what they're building. But then you have like the Tiffany Haddish, right? Years ago that was like, listen, do you know how much I paid for this dress? Y'all gonna see it again and again and again. You're gonna see it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? People always talk about Steve Jobs and the infamous black turtleneck, again and again, because success leaves clues. We know that success is formulaic, and we know that, and so I think that, well, why not take a page out of that book? Why not? Why would you not? And it doesn't mean that it has to literally be the same thing over and over again, but it has to be a formula. I know that this works. Like, I could tell you the key components of my style, of what I have the most of in my closet, because essentially it's the same look. If you scroll enough through my Instagram, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I see. She likes a good button down tie moment. She loves shorts because she got good legs. She gonna show them. And so I've never met a pair of shorts that I don't like. When I wear them all year, I don't care. I wear them with tights. I wear them with strappy sandals. I wear them with boots. I don't care. That's like one of these little things. There's always a faux fur in the mix. There's always a cape, something in the mix. There's always something very dramatic because my style, and there's a style test in the Secrets of the Well-Dressed Brand book, because I'm giving you all that. I'm like, listen, I want you to understand what your style recipe is, So when I take my test, the way I scored was elegant and dramatic. So it's always going to be pulled together, and there's always going to be something that's a little bit dramatic. There's always a little bit of a conversation starter. You can't see my earrings right now, but I'm wearing little bees in my ear. The bottom of the bee is a true culture pearl gemstone. I'm in samurai sword class last night.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
In the making. And so, trying to get my badass black girl on. And one of my, teammates or classmates was just like, are those bees in your ear? And I'm like, yeah, that drew her into me. You know what I mean? And now we have a whole conversation about, my low key obsession with bees that I don't tell a lot of people about. And it led into a whole nother conversation, but those things are happening in big, big rooms as well. If you start to understand that you are not powerless, you get to control the narrative. This is a time for us to really stand in our power. It's a call for freedom. I know the suffering is hard. I know the uncomfortableness is hard, but you have to push through and do it hard. You have to. There's no, we're not going back. We're not going back. Our future self is pulling us forward, calling us forward. And for a lot of people, we live in a world realistically that you gotta look the part, or they're just not trying to hear you.
Let's lean in on that. I think transformation is hard, people. And transformation requires an immense amount of struggle, of sacrifice, of resistance. Because I made a post recently about that. And again, this seems to be I don't know why, this seems to be a common theme of comfortability. We get comfort in our known struggle because we know it. We'll complain about it. Woe is me. They don't like me. They won't hire me. They don't see the value. They question, why is this 25,000? Why is this 50,000? They think my vision is ridiculous. And we stay in that perpetuating cycle of doubt and struggle because that's what's comfortable. That's the easy way to say, this is why this isn't working. Instead of challenging that and being like, okay, accepting this is what it is right now. Yeah. What can I do differently? How can I show up differently? Yeah. Maybe it's literally not what you're saying is phenomenal, but what you're wearing, why you saying it, is the reason you're not getting the check. Is that why, Toi? Like, are you serious right now? I'm not showing up my most authentic self. I'm thinking I'm talking loud and proud, but I sound like a kitty cat when I need to be sound like a lion. Yeah. And people seeing you. There's a TikTok trend that goes around where there's maybe a short partner and tall partner, and they put the camera to where the tall person is, and like, is this how you see me all day? No wonder you wouldn't take me seriously. Right. Yeah. We need to make sure we have those POVs so we can recalibrate how we show up in rooms. Yeah. And I think that's so good and it's so real. But you taught me. I remember our first Toi and Troy time together. And then after we did, I think you were on my podcast. And then after we did that, we were talking and you were like, girl, you need to raise your prices. You are not charging nearly enough. And that was so game changing for me.
because again, it's not about looking the part without strategy. All of it is part of your strategy. That was it, because I was like, okay, yeah, I looked the part, but I still wasn't charging enough. And I was like, okay. And I didn't look it down, but I wanted to you said something about comfortability. And I think that sometimes the other side of comfortability is the things that we have normalized that we don't realize that we've normalized. You think, oh no, I'm not like this. I would never touch a stove when it's hot. But you have been so numb from your trauma that you don't realize that every day you walk into the kitchen and you're just touching that stove because it's normal. And so, right? And so we all have blind spots in ourselves, in our business, with our partners. We all have that. You could be listening to this or seeing this and think, I don't do that. I don't need that. I have a strategy, but do you? I'm not comfortable. I thrive to be uncomfortable. Listen, the day my therapist started showing me the things that I have normalized, I was like, yeah, because why would you? And I was talking big game and she did not, she just listened. And then she leaned in and she just said, because you've normalized it. Ooh. And I was like, I'm going to need you to get out of my business. Okay. I'm gonna need you to, the way that I threw myself back in this very chair, because she's right. And so I think that that's part of it too, is that you're just like, I wear this, I do this. And you just normalize like this is what you look good. But when I tell you that we are in a season of new strategy, new freedom, like we have got to, I only have one mission when I go to an event or when somebody sees me sometimes, I don't care if I'm running errands. I have a look for that. I have a look for Zoom. I have a look for podcasts. I have a look for all of those things. And I only have one goal. And it's the same goal that I have for my clients. Show up and shut it all the way down. Like you want to leave the stage if you're desiring to speak and leave nothing left, like leave it all on the stage. When you get that discovery call with that client, you have so many strategies and so many different things that you leave nothing left. And I heard this, I was reminded of this quote today, Troy, and I'm going to botch it probably, but I think I saved it in my stories today. And I remember watching the podcast, but I don't remember the guy. Like, anyway, he said something to like, if you think that winning is expensive, wait till you get the bill for regret.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, because what we don't want to do is shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's when the comparison starts. That's when you're looking at that friend and you're thinking like, that should be me. And that's right. And that's when that starts to happen, because it's human to compare. It's human to feel that way. It's human to have that part of your heart that's like, I don't want to clap for him, but no, who do you want to become? I'm going to clap. I'm going to be the loudest one, even if I'm not in that room.
Right.
Because again, if God meant for you to have it, you would have it. You might need to employ a different strategy. And there's so much research out there about what happens inside of you and outside of you when you decide to become a well-dressed brand. I'm just saying.
Creators Are Brands, hosted by Tom Boyd, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. Creators Are Brands explores how solo creators and storytellers are building brands online, from the mindsets to the tactics to the business side. They break down what's working so you can apply that to your own mission, and so much more. Listen to Creators Are Brands wherever you get your podcasts. You're just saying all the tea as she drink the tea.
I'm just saying.
She knows she spit a word. And this is the value. I relish in your ability and your work. I was at the All-Star Weekend when it was in Indianapolis. I remember I was in an activation booth area, and it was just a bunch of culture, art, and they chose a theme of Kobe. So they did a lot of art, local artists design what Kobe meant to them. And all these different people from all across the country are here in variety of brands. I can't even say the name. I won't even try to attempt them. I don't have the acumen to articulate their names. That is not my forte. But people who there knew all of them. They're curated, high quality, high class. And I remember as I was walking around, because you never know who's going to be the connector to your big break. Yeah. And you never know who has access.
Mm.
And I don't even know how I even got in that room, to be honest with you.
Because you earned it.
I don't know how I got in there. And I'm talking with all these different people. And, you know how sometimes things come back to your memory of you had a conversation with someone, maybe they were explaining something to you or showing something, they were very passionate about something. How you say something and that passion, energy transfers with the memory.
Yes.
And so when someone emulates that, your brain does a cool thing of like, who do I know that matched that frequency of energy?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait. Toi was explaining this to me. I read this in her book, and this person seems to be a decision maker. Hey, do you know my friend Toi Sweeney? You should know this person. Here's what she does. Here's her book. Here's her contact information. You should probably talk with her. She's very skilled in all these things. And are you doing activations and other events that needs these type of skill sets and this type of superpower? Well, I have a person. Plug them in right now and let's see what happens here. So for those who don't know our network, you connect, you get them to spell out what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they do. You get as much information as you can retain to then give it to the person that you just made the connection with. That way they have the ammunition that when this person makes this conversation, the connection happen, they have something to go off of. One of my biggest pet peeves is to make a connection and not give no ammunition of why are you doing this? Yes. It may be clear in your mind why you're connecting the two, but if you don't give each party why this connection makes sense, it's going to be so much harder. It's always awkward enough to talk to someone you don't know and then try to do the dance. Make just a nugget for y'all who you're learning how to network, especially people of color. This is how you network. So I connected to that dot, but I wouldn't even had that thought if Toi didn't, one, declare what she wanted, what she's looking for, and exhibulated, energy and passion and expertise in that, where all that got locked into that memory bank that when I saw it replicated, I matched the two and said, you need to know this person.
Yeah. And
that all comes back to how you show up.
It does.
Like you're saying.
You've done that for me so many times, introduced me to so many people of just like, hey, I was at this thing and I met this person. I think that you guys would, and I'm great and I'm grateful, but I think that I love what you're saying because we do need to be able to just even the simple act of just saying somebody's name in the room. I mean, when you walk into a room with Gail, you already know that she's a direct link to Oprah.
Facts.
Now, your strategy can't be like, I'm trying to get to Oprah because she can see and smell that a mile away. But if you just show up in your excellence, you really think she's not going to tell her about you?
Right.
It's just naturally what happens.
Which leads to another point about, strategy, modifying it. Let's say we're trying to get to Oprah because Oprah needs to hire you and put a part of... No, I should Tyler Perry because we need to improve on the outfits and the looks for some of these movies. But I digress. We love you, Tyler. Come on over. Give us money. Give us chances. But like you said, if the directive is try to get to Oprah, and maybe we have never gotten to her, who's around her? Who are the ways that can subconsciously or subconnect to get us these pathways? It's not black and white when it comes to these things in entrepreneurship. As creatives, if you're trying to get a collaboration, a partnership, most times it's not going to be a direct line. We need a gateway. We need someone to vouch for us, to validate us, to get in those doors, in those rooms. Man, wouldn't it be really cool when we're walking around, like you said, we're attracting attention, which creates curiosity. And if now that we've done the branding of our look, now our brand voice needs to speak to who we are in confidence and conviction and power of creating that persuasion of who we are and navigating that. And if you don't know how to do these things, well, you need a copy of a Well-Dressed Brand book, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand book, to help you. If you need to get the test done so you know your MO of how you need to show up, you need to get the book. And then you need to hire Toi to help coach you and guide you on where do I start. If you are an up-and-coming author or an established author, if you are a speaker who is doing like 100+ shows a year, you know how you look, how you show up can make the difference between your next gig.
Yeah.
It's not just how good the cameraman is. How are you looking? How you feeling? How you vibing? That matters. But a lot of us think of how much money we missing out on simply because we're not dressed right.
You got to look like money. But, listen, here's the thing. What I don't want people to think is that I'm saying you have to be dressed up, right? Because I'm not saying that. I mean, Pharrell is out there killing it, but he's not wearing suits. But the point is that he's showing up as Pharrell. And so if that means, whatever for you, if that is Crocs, and pajamas, because you have been able to build your brand around that, then I'm saying go ahead and do that. But just be intentional about it, right? We've all seen the guy that he was really, really big during the pandemic. And I think we all still watch him, right? He's in bed and he has like the cover pulled up.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like watching the coffee and people make coffee. And he was just like, because you're Paul, you're a papa, like the whole thing. And so he monetized that. When he's not doing that, his videos and all those things, I don't think they do as well. But guess what he did that was so brilliant? Is that then he started like creating like blankets and Snuggies or whatever, because he's wrapped up in something. He might as well monetize that. So there's another guy that I follow, and like he talks about, I remember like his platform, but I can't think of his name right now, but he, talks about being petty. And I love this, like the Pettyville, he has his own language. And that's something that you need to do as a brand. There's certain words that when people hear, they need to associate that with you. And he says things like Pettyluya, and then he has F around and find out Fridays. And I just like the moment I can get an opportunity to have him on my podcast, I will, because I want to talk about building this brand, like really living out your personal brand in such a way that you're carving out this lane for yourself. My fam and my tribe, they know. And I love that when they hear other people using my language or people taking things from my book and using it for their own words, they're so quick to jump in and be like, oh, that was cute. Toi Sweeney said that, X amount of times ago, or in this post or in her book, like where I saw her speak and she said it then, because that's what it's about. And so I just wanted to point that out too, that it's not necessarily about, look at Gary Vee. He's still, again, showing up in his authentic self. You are showing up in your authentic self, not about necessarily being fancy, just you being you.
For real. And what's crazy is that you established yourself to a point where you got your own Bayhive. Like, that's powerful.
I don't know if it's that big.
But it's effective. If they come in there, hey, let me get y'all corrected tagger in this thing. That's hers.
That. I do love that they do that. Yeah.
We've covered so much. And the theme, when we started the conversation, you echoed the 3 words, change the narrative. I think that's going to be part of the title of this episode. But that stuck with me, and it set the premises for everything else in this glorious conversation on changing our narratives, not only in language and in tone and in color and in duality, but presence and positioning, despite of or in spite of things that we're dealing with internally.
Yeah. Things
that we can't change externally. Things that are in our current environment, maybe our current bank account, our current status. Are we unemployed? Or we don't have as many clients as we want? We don't have the zeros that we want. All these things too comes in part of it, but we can control, and I can control how I show up. I can control how I dress. I can show up the tone of which I'm speaking in when I'm in these public moments, on these media, on these channels. That's something I can't control despite other things around us, and us both being faith-based mind, creative, neurospicy, we will get knocked down, and somehow we don't even know how we do it. Sometimes we'll get back up and we'll lean in on our community and we'll make this work. And I want to give you your flowers again, because you are just a true soul. And there's not too many who demonstrate their trueness literally on their sleeve. And it's like, this is who I am. Because it took work to get to that place. Wow, that took a lot to be that strong. And as a Black brother, as an allyship to my Black women counterparts, knowing that there's things that I can't even phantom enduring that you all endure times 10, times a million. And we're not even going to talk about the certain situation, but we know, y'all know what if y'all know, y'all know. If y'all see me, y'all see me. If y'all can hear, y'all know my tonality. we can't change that, but we can move forward. And how do we better employ and empower our communities to do that? And Toi Sweeney is one of those leaders who you need to entrust to do those things. So we thank you. And so with that being said, let's leave this on a high note. Let's leave this on a note, okay? What are some things we can do to get us in the right headspace to be our best selves from your experience?
I think that number one is that you want to focus on where you're going. And so you want to be really and always reaching forward, right? You want to always be dressing your future self. You always want to be talking to your future self, because that is the person that is depending on what you do now, because it's impacting him or her, impacting that future person. And that future person is reaching back to you and saying like, hey, we're waiting for you. Come on. And so you want to be thinking about that. You do not want to live in the past, because it's exactly that. So we always want to be moving forward, reaching forward. If you're saying that your goal is that you want to be a millionaire, a billionaire, whatever, then you need to understand how a millionaire, a billionaire, whatever thinks. If you want to scale your business, you have to adjust your mindset to think like someone who has this extremely successful business. Right? Just like if you want to lose weight, then there's certain things that you're going to have to do in your lifestyle to become the person that you want to be. So that's number one. So once you understand and you are looking at your future self and living out or creating things for that person and deciding who it is that you really want to be and laying the baseline for that foundation for whatever that means to you. I also do something called the Fascination Advantage test, right? And it's an assessment test where you get a 15-page report. It literally spells out your brand voice. So you don't have to sit there. You don't have to put it through ChatGPT. It gives it all to you. Then you can take that information and put it through ChatGPT and then start to understand your pillars, your strategy, all of those things. But you have the verbiage to communicate who you actually are. So then now that you have your brand voice, you know the thing that you're building, you know that you're becoming, and then you dress appropriately. You understand that red, when you wear red, it tells the world that you are ambitious, that you're determined. When you wear black, it tells the world that you are an authority, that you're elegant, that you're powerful. When you're wearing blue, it tells the world that you are trustworthy. When you wear yellow, it tells the world that you're creative. Orange is all about confidence, all of those things. So you want to dress the brand message. And that is the crux of it. Like that's really how you become a well-dressed brand. And then you just start living out those rules, you know, and then if you want to level that up, making sure that you're making these decisions and you're doing these things from a healed place so that you're leading with wholeness and you're being a friend with wholeness, and wholeness is encapsulated in your business. Right. So now we're fully like gone are the days where we are product. We are all lifestyle brands. So you can be the next Ralph Lauren of your niche. There's a reason, in closing, I would say, that he changed his name from Ralph Lipschitz to Ralph Lauren. Because at that time, nobody was going to be buying anything from Ralph Lipschitz. Maybe today. But at that time, he couldn't be Ralph Lipschitz. He had to create Ralph Lauren. So who do you need to be? Who is it that you need to create? That is you, that part of you that does it scared. Who do you need to become? What do you need to create so that you can be now the next whatever of your niche?
Ooh. And if you're, for those who are watching or listening, it's like, I need to get that 15-page report. You can go to toisweeney.com and reach out to see how do we get going and how do we get started in that. Toi Sweeney across all channels. You can also Google Toi Sweeney and watch her TED Talk and see all her things, all her swaggers, all her looks and fits, and marvel at her beauty and marvel at her swagger and marvel at, wow, I need to get my fits together. Okay. That was an experience of Toi and Troy time. We should get that trademark and get a show, spin off that. Sponsors, if y'all want, we can travel and do these things. I always wanted to do the Red Talk show with people with you. One day, let's manifest it.
For so long, we need to make this happen.
We thank you. We appreciate you. For those, again, if you haven't already, click on the links in the show notes, go to the sites, explore, consider, buy black, support. You will not regret it. Toi Sweeney, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Digress. What was your takeaway? Care to share your thoughts and tag Troy on social media? You can find him on all platforms at Find Troy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review or comment for this episode from wherever you're listening. Looking for a marketing strategist to build the structure, strategies, and systems you need to get the success you want and the ROI you desire in your business? Book a discovery call to talk with Troy at findtroy.com. And as Troy's philosophy goes, imagination is the engine, content is the fuel, social media is the highway, marketing is the roadmap, sales is the destination, culture is the GPS. Thanks for listening.